to the Positive Gains podcast. Today, my special guest is Mr. Scott Pasmore. You may have seen him as probably the longest tenured anchor at 3TV. Good Morning Arizona. If you're like me, probably grew up watching him. He's also a pilot, builds homes too. Big Kansas City Chiefs fan. So we got a lot to uncover today.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir. No, it just means I'm really old. It just means I'm really old.
No, no. I mean, there's so many people in the Gila Valley that have probably, grew up watching you. I know my mom was a big fan of yours. That was one of the things that she did every morning was turn on 3TV. And yeah,
Oh, that's so cool.
so many great things that you guys have done and covered. And you're the first anchor that I've ever, been able to interview. So, my first question into, journalism and broadcast.
Mike, I was probably like most college kids. I was in school. I was running track. I was more into being in a fraternity and, going out and having fun and dating girls and that sort of thing. And didn't really think about much what I wanted to do. So when it came time to get serious, I tried a bunch of different things, and then I came across what they called at the time a radio TV class, and I got to pair up with a fellow student and go out with a camera and shoot a story, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was always curious about world events and things going on around me, so I got to go out and do that with a camera and put my voice to it and explain what the story was, and I was like, this is it. So that did it for me, and it stuck, and I've been there ever since.
College fraternity, kind of taking a class and ended up enjoying it for, I mean, decades now. When you initially took it, did you see that that was going to be a career for you, or did you think that that might just be something to do for a little while?
No, when I got my first job, which was the smallest TV market in the country, Kirksville, Missouri. I think Phoenix is a top 10. This was market 207. So it was a real shocker when I moved to this little town. My dad had bought me my first suit. So I didn't know what to expect. I get to this little town and they tell me, all right, you're going to go out to this farm and you're going to do a story on cow foot rot. So
Wow.
that was my first story. It was not very glamorous. I learned that very, very fast. And I got out to this farm and it was raining and I had this stupid suit on and farmer goes, "You want some rubbers for your shoes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, if you don't mind." So anyway, that was my intro into TV. But no, I enjoyed it. A long time ago, you kind of had to start small and pay your dues and work your way up. It's a lot different now, but I'm glad I did it that way. So I was exposed to so many different parts of the country and different sized towns, and it was a great way to learn the business for sure.
And did you have somebody that you were able to lean on as like a mentor or somebody that you kind of followed?
I didn't, other than just watching local news, and there were people I liked in the Kansas City area that I enjoyed watching, and then of course network that sort of thing. But no, I didn't know anybody personally. I had some friends as fellow students that also were doing it, and so I talked to them, but not. I didn't really have a mentor.
And how was it leaving, Missouri, and then I imagine coming over to Phoenix?
Well, I actually what happened is I had worked 2 years in Kirksville, Missouri, and I just was terrible. I was not very good, and so I was trying to get a job out of there. I was sending tapes back then. We had to send out these tapes. Now you send a link, and nobody would give me the time of day. So I had a friend of mine call me up, and he said, "Hey, I just got." He was in Cleveland, Ohio. He said, "I just got transferred to Huntington Beach for my company." And I said, you know what? I'm going to quit this job. I can't get out of here. And I'm going to move to Orange County and maybe grow up a little bit. So I went out there and did a couple different jobs. And then I got back into TV in Palm Springs, worked there for 8 months, went to Albuquerque, worked there for a year. And then I got the job in Phoenix. So I went through a couple different markets, but I was just so green and terrible on TV. I had to do that. I had to go to different places and grow up a little bit and get better at what I was doing.
Now, what are some of the highs and lows that people don't see? I mean, we all see the bright lights and the stories, but what are some of the behind the scenes things that we don't get to see as far as like what works and what doesn't work?
Well, what viewers don't see is one, the odd hours that we work. I mean, you see it on TV, but when I'm blessed now, I don't really have to work holidays, but starting out in my career, I worked Christmas,
Mhm.
Thanksgiving. I still work Thanksgiving. I mean, New Year's, you don't, it's an odd business. The news goes 24/7, so there's no 9 to 5, so to speak, and you get weekends off, and you never have to work a holiday. It's not like that at all. You really, and the pay is very low. My first two jobs, I literally made $5 an hour, and so I mean, I was morning anchor in Palm Springs, making 10 grand for the year, and then I was weekend anchor in Kirksville, Missouri, and reporter making 10,000. I mean, that was my salary. So I often worked two jobs to get by. You're working holidays, you're working long hours and under not always great conditions. Now, fast forward it's much different. I've been doing this a long time, and I've been at Channel 3 for 36 years now, so I don't have to work Christmas if I don't want. I volunteer to work on Thanksgiving, and then I get a day for that. But that's the hard part. People are producers. They really have to work the hardest. They come in literally the middle of the night, which is
Wow.
it's just not supposed to be that way. So they come in the middle of the night and work really odd hours and work really hard to put it all together. And then Tess and I are the last people to grab this information that we have to present to our viewers, and then we
Mhm.
present it. So we're it's a lot different for us. I used to work incredibly hard, but now it's a lot different. So there are a lot of other people that do all the hard work. The great part of it is just the satisfaction of going out and doing a live shot. What we do is present information to viewers so they can go about their day and hopefully make it easier for them, whether it be traffic problems or news or things like that. So there's great satisfaction in doing great stories on people and businesses and things like that. So that's the satisfying part.
And when you talk about stories, how hard is it to take so many different requests? I'm not sure exactly who, ciphers through all of them, but I imagine you guys get a million different requests. So how hard is it to try to figure out what you're going to put on the air?
Well, the producers that they get a lot of feeds from the network, and they're putting together the stories of the day. The government shutdown and how it affects Arizonans and that sort of thing, and then our sports stories and our weather stories and our traffic and things like that. So they put all that together. As a reporter, which I still get to go out and do whenever I want to. It's fun, and we get a lot of story ideas from viewers. So we go
Mhm.
out and shoot the stories that we think viewers would be interested in and might affect them and their lives, and then we put those together. So it's even though I started as a reporter and I did that for many years before I ever got to the anchor desk, that's the basis for everything is going out and reporting on the streets, and I still enjoy that today. Because at the time when I first started at Channel 3, I was a reporter for 5 years before we even started Good Morning Arizona. And so I was a weekend reporter, but at the time I covered some of the biggest stories of our generation at that time. I covered the Oklahoma City bombing. I covered the
Mhm.
Rodney King riots. I covered the O.J. Simpson trial. I covered plane crashes and fires and all these devastating stories that were really important at that time in our lives. So I was very fortunate to have a front row seat. You don't want to see tragic things, but that is our job. And so we're out there doing that.
Is there a typical, or excuse me, a topic or segment that you enjoy covering more than another, or does it not matter?
I've learned to like everything. I always say I don't know a lot about a little. I know a little about a lot. So that's one of the great things about being a reporter before you move to the anchor desk is I've covered everything. I've covered fires, car crashes. I've covered business stories. I've covered people, emotional things with people. Uh, not just negative. I mean, positive. We try to do a lot of positive stories as well. So once you cover that as a reporter and then you're thrust into a situation with breaking news on the news desk, I know what it's like out there for firefighters to go through, a house fire because I've been out there covering it for many years. So it's really important to be exposed to all of that. So I don't have any favorites. I mean, I like sports, I like aviation, I love golf, but I also love business and I love people. I really do. I enjoy interviewing people.
And that leads me into aviation, like you just mentioned. You're a pilot, flying around a lot. For many years, right? I remember they used to kind of do like a double thing where they would put you in, I believe, the helicopter,
That's right.
and you would do a segment many times in the morning. So, how did that come to be for you, aviation?
Yeah, I was lucky. Phoenix is a really cool market. And back in the day when we had News Chopper 3 and I was a reporter, our old station was at 16th Street in Osborne. We actually had a landing pad, um, a helipad right in our back parking lot. So the helicopter sat out back and they literally, I mean, this was when it was really exciting. They'd literally go, okay, you're gonna go cover this story. I remember one time a car was stolen from like a Circle K or something, and there were two little kids in the back, and this guy took off with his car and he drove to Utah. And so they said, we found the car in Utah, so go get in the chopper. And we flew all the way up to Utah to cover this
Wow.
story. And so it was pretty exciting to be able to jump in the helicopter, literally, like you said, Mike, almost daily. And then so through the years, I just had a real advantage of getting to go up in a bunch of different types of airplanes. I got to go up in an F-18 Blue Angel. I got to go up in an F-16 out of Luke Air Force Base, and I loved aviation. But I thought, the skies don't need me up there flying around. It's too busy. And then the last flight I took, I think it was in the F-16. I was like, I do want to get my pilot's license and I do want to experience this. So I did that 16 years ago, and it's literally been one of the best things I've ever done. It's just so amazing.
When's the last time that you've taken a flight out?
Probably, I was kind of in the process of buying a new plane, so probably about 2 months ago. It's been, well, actually, I take that back. It was about 3 weeks ago. I took up a plane for a flight. So I do fly quite often, maybe once a week, not always necessarily to go somewhere, but to just go up and fly around. But I love flying around to towns in Arizona. Flown down to Mexico, flown back to Missouri, excuse me, Lake of the Ozarks, to Colorado, to California. I've flown to a lot of places.
And how about the home industry? You were telling me a little bit earlier about building homes, and I had no idea really until I went on your Instagram and saw it. When did you get involved in that industry?
It was one of my first TV jobs. I was literally making, I was in Albuquerque, and now I was making $17,000. And my wife and I at the time, we bought our first house for 52,000. I know that's way cheap, and it was a different time, but it was right down the street from the university there, and in Albuquerque. So I came home one day and she had changed out the toilet. And I said, how'd you know how to do that? She goes, well, I don't know. I just did it. So I said, let's remodel this home. And so kind of learned along the way, I remodeled it and sold it 6 months later and made like $30,000. I mean, I would have had to have worked 2 years to make that kind of money. So I thought, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So I've been remodeling homes ever since. My entire adult life, I've always had two jobs. And then about 12 or 13 years ago, I started building from ground up. And so I've been doing that ever since.
Is that like I mean, I know it's another hobby and a source of income. Does it kind of give you a little bit of maybe relief from a long news day, or does it not matter?
No, it does. I get done with my morning. I'm about ready to start another house actually, and it's a long process. It's like it can be a 3 year process with the permits and getting loans and everything, and then the building process. So no, I work mornings and then I go to the house and I work long days, sometimes till 7:30, 8:30 at night, and then
Oh,
it's hard work. That's one thing I've learned is to try to get ahead in life, you got to work really hard, and I enjoy doing that. So No, they're long days. I back them right after my first job, then I go to my second job.
So 36 years. I mean, I'm always curious of the feeling like you've seen a lot, you've done a lot, you've covered a lot. When you look back to where you were compared to where you are now, what's the reflection like for you?
It's kind of mind blowing for me personally. I mean, I feel
Mhm.
like I have to pinch myself. One, it's gone by incredibly fast. I remember when I was at my first job, my mom was dating somebody who had a condo here in the Biltmore, and so he offered to fly me out here for Thanksgiving, and I'm stuck in Kirksville, Missouri, and I remember walking around the Biltmore. I'll never forget it. There's a reporter for Channel 10 doing a live shot. It's November. It's like perfect weather out, 80 degrees, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I can't even imagine ever working in a city like this that's so cool. And then I end up working here. So it just, I worked hard and I set goals and they worked out for me. So it's pretty, for me, it's pretty exciting.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about football. This might go a little negative because I'm a Chargers fan. So,
Hey, the Chargers are really good.
you
Yeah.
know, LA they've been good this year, but most Charger fans I think would tell you just wait and see, right? I think everybody in the division is not even secretly rooting against the Chiefs, right? There's so many. They've been great for so long. It's not even personal against Mahomes or Kelsey or Andy Reid. It's just I think we want new blood, but within our division, we understand it's probably not going to be us. So, with that
Well,
being said, I mean, you guys are right there, and I think you guys play tonight. Matter of fact, what do you see from the Chiefs this year that looks different, and where do you think they'll end up?
Well, it's been a strange year. I mean, we've got all these offensive weapons now that we have all our receivers there. And so you would think we'd be that much better. And so far, we have at times, but not every game. So some of the games have been disappointing where I thought, this just is not going to be the Chiefs' year for them. And then they play great games like against the Lions, and they look so good. And then they got killed by the Bills, so I don't know. And then you guys are really good. The AFC West is a strong division, and anything can happen during the season. But you can't argue with the fact that Chiefs always come through in the playoffs.
Right.
Hopefully they'll make the playoffs. We'll see this year. But I always say with number 15 at quarterback, you can never count them out. I mean, anything is possible. I don't care if there's 30 seconds left and we're behind. Anything's possible with Patrick Mahomes.
And the last thing on the Chiefs, what do you think it is? Do you think it's just collectively? Obviously, Patrick is, himself, and he's probably the biggest piece on the team. But Andy Reid and the coaching ability, and mixed with all the different pieces, why do you think they've been able to have such a great tenure in that short time with Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's the answer. We all know it's the most important position on the football field. And I mean, everybody's looking for that quarterback that can take them to the promised land and last for years, a generational quarterback. And he's it. I mean, the Chiefs have obviously been good at times in the past. When I was a kid, uh, there were times when they were good. I remember Lenny Dawson way back when I was a little kid, but then there were a lot of years where Chiefs weren't very good, and we had some great quarterbacks through the years, including Joe Montana. But it's just Patrick Mahomes. Well, your quarterback's fantastic too, but Patrick Mahomes is just unlike anything I've ever witnessed in my life. I mean, he's just so amazing. He can do anything and everything. And it seems like a lot of games he's carrying everybody on his back. But if he gets the time, if the line gives him time, I mean, he will take you down for sure. And by the way, when I was a kid, I got to see Joe Namath's last game at Arrowhead Stadium. I think I was,
Wow.
if I remember right, maybe junior high, eighth grade, and I got to see him play at Arrowhead. That was pretty special.
What advice would you offer somebody that might want to get into journalism or broadcasting, maybe building homes? I mean, you've kind of got your hands in a few different avenues. So, what advice would you offer out?
Home wise, I always tell people, and it's really hard. I get it. I started at a way different time when, it was a lot cheaper to buy a home. When I moved to Phoenix, I bought my first home for $100,000, and I used to do all the work myself. So back then, interest rates were 10%, so my payment was $1,000. It was very doable, even though I didn't make very much money. But I used to, once you get into the housing market, it's a lot easier to move forward from then. So my goal was always to buy the worst home in the best neighborhood that I could afford, and it always wasn't necessarily close to where I wanted to be. It maybe was out and about where I could afford, but I've just lived a different life. I've never lived in a home more than 3 years, so it wouldn't be a lot of fun for somebody with me. So I've always moved. So I've always been remodeling homes and then trying to find one a little bigger and a little better, and that's how I've moved up over the years. I mean, people see these homes I've built on Instagram and they think that I just started. Well, it's been 40 years, so it's been a long time. So if you want to get into the housing industry, just get a house somewhere that's a decent neighborhood, and one that you can afford, and then fix it up yourself. I always tell people that YouTube videos will show you how to do everything. I still, to this day, I'll come across something I don't know how to do, so I'll look up a YouTube video and do it. And that's the best way to make money and try to move on if that's what you want to do, real estate wise. TV wise, you it's all about not necessarily going to school, but getting an internship somewhere, and then doing some work on camera. And it's just about being comfortable in front of the camera. The younger people that are coming out of college are 10 zillion times better than I ever was. And so it's a great advantage today. Kids are smart. They know what they're doing. It was way different. I was terrible, but I worked my way up to this position. But it's just, you got to just stick with it. You're going to get a lot of no's. I used to keep a file of all the no's, the no letters I would get, the rejections, and I had a thick file. But you just have to believe in yourself and never give up and just keep pushing, and you'll get to where you want to go if you believe in yourself.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for sharing not only that wisdom, but your entire journey. It's pretty surreal, to be talking with you. Like I said, fourth, fifth grade, my mom used to drag me in front of the TV, and we're gonna watch 3 TV this morning. So yeah, I appreciate you again, and best of luck to you.
Thank you, Mike, so much. It's really great talking to you. I enjoy your podcast. And I've just been lucky. I've had a lot of great co anchors over the years. I work with incredible people. So I always say, it's them, and I'm just there rounding out the team. So I've been very lucky, but thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you again for being on, and if you ever want to come back, you're welcome.
Anytime.